Okay, so welcome everyone. So we're going to walk through the Cisco the call manager or CUCM real time phone widget that we have, phone registration widget that we have within Verify. We did release this a couple versions ago, but we've made some enhancements to it. So I'm just going to give a little background, not to reinvent the wheel on that last webinar where I performed that, but just want to give a quick little heads up of this newer widget and certainly the enhancements that are coming through with Verified 25.12 due out end of this week. Actually, I think it's tomorrow. So in our widget wizard here, we have the a real-time phone registration widget. In the wizard windows here, we'll see in a moment or two that we have options to go ahead and certainly give it cosmetic name label appearances, sure. Certainly play around with some sorting options as well. But the main content is going to be device pool driven on this widget. Now, there are going to be a couple different filterable options, aka search criteria. The default one that's going to be leveraged in this widget will be device pools with an axle lookup to the sync data that we have within Verify so that we can key on those device pools for inclusion. Now, certainly we can onesie twosie these, but there are a couple other filterable options, which will be device descriptions, names, or types. Now, certainly you can use just the default on pools here, or you can certainly add additionals in here as well. Certainly it looks, should look very similar to our normal kind of search set criteria routines. There is a synchronization that does need to run in the middle of the night for such, but there's going to be output settings that certainly you can go ahead and choose from, and then you can choose how to know how to sort them. If you're looking for just counts, percentages, or a combination of both, certainly you can do such, as well as enable a summary statistic bar to also garner the same content for all of the device pools overall in the output. So as an example, I already have one down here built for such. So this is exactly what the CUCM real-time phone registration widget looks like in Verify. As you can certainly see, there are some color-coded options on those now. Those are thresholds, and we're going to get into that today. That is certainly one of the newer enhancements in version 25.12 of Verify, due out very shortly. But as well as exporting options here, which is certainly going to be very advantageous for all out in the field. Now, as we can certainly see, this widget right here certainly is leveraging one of my labs and certainly can see all the phones, the percents that are registered, percent failover, as well as phones that may be unregistered or rejected, etc. Certainly, this is very dynamic out in the field because it is refreshing real time. So there's no wait for this for 30 minutes, an hour, 15, 5 minutes, anything along those lines. This is refreshing live. So we are tapping into the call manager APIs to read all this and leverage this. So we do have the options in this table view here to even be able to drill down into certain things. So these counts or these percentages as an example. So I will pick on maybe this the Chicago device pool where I have 52 total phones, 50 that are registered, 2 are for the database only, but the drilling capacity is what I want to show you. So click on the numeric of the 52 for this Chicago device pool. Drills me into this pop-out page right here where I can actually see all the 52 phones that are underneath this device pool, regardless of registration, because I clicked on the total phones on that status option. Certainly could have clicked on one of the others and looked at only the registered or only the unregistered or only the what database only, I think, were the other two in this puzzle here. Now, certainly what we can see is exactly the list of all the Macs, their descriptions, their types, the status, as well as timestamps and discernible IP addresses, active firmware. But also there's going to be some additional options in the show hide columns. As always, what's being shown through on the output is this box on the right. Certainly, there are some other additional options here in the box on the left. And I may just go ahead and choose the last registered as a last example here. Now, throwing that column in there, I can see when these devices were all last registered. I do believe that was this morning, it would appear. There's definitely pagination here as well. But also one of the newer options in Verify version 25.12 is going to be the exporting option from this widget now as well. So very good to be able to drill into it. That was kind of phase one that we rolled out in one of the recent releases. Now with Verified 25.12, we'll be able to go ahead and export or generate reports off of the contents from these pop-up pages from this widget. So as an example here, maybe my manager, UC admin needs to see all these devices regardless of registration status. Certainly we can generate a quick export / report for these pretty quickly here with just like a few button clicks. And then we can certainly hand this on over to the administrator or whatever it needs to be reviewed for. It certainly has a date timestamp on it when this this export was ran. Certainly all the device content for the corresponding device pool is certainly listed below in the table view here, including the last registered date as well. So this will be our PDF form, if you will. But of course, there's definitely going to also be CSV for those who want to potentially add additional filtering on the output, let's just say. So I'll go ahead and open this up in Excel real briefly. The same exact content that we just saw a moment or so ago, but again, just in CSV or Excel speak, let's just say. So if I needed to go ahead and leverage anything based off of filters, obviously, I think everyone knows that kind of drill right there. Certainly, that will certainly be an option at your fingertips with this new version. Okay, fantastic. So again, we can definitely drill into these. Do we wish to drill into maybe these, any phones that are rejected as an example? This one on the headquarters or the HQ device pool. So I can see here that James Taylor's MAC address right here. I can see that this device is rejected, and even the timestamp from this morning, and the corresponding, active, call manager IP as well. So maybe this may be needed for the environment. So again, you could certainly export that at your leisure, of course. Or another thing you could do is employ the thresholding options, which certainly will be represented by these color-coded kind of cells illuminating in colors. Now, we definitely have that option here, and I will just kind of showcase that for you as well, and maybe even build one on the fly here to call out this rejected device for this one pool. Now, like some of our similar widgets that we offer for some of the contact center stuff, has these thresholds. So these should look very familiar if you've ever played around with our contact center thresholdings before. Now, this content in this widget here, certainly keying off of the device pools. I have my lab here, but also I'm keying off of the specific device, the detail columns, pardon me, that were set forth by one of my other peers, I do believe. But now they also have some thresholds already built in here. So the configured columns that you're outputting in the widget results, if you will, so total phones, percent registered, et cetera, this box here on the right, these are all going to be threshold options that we can key off of in the secondary option over here on the left blue shaded pane. So I'm going to come into here right now. There's already one built here for registered, applying to all device pools. Now, certainly one can go ahead and onesie twosie these if we only wanted to apply certain thresholds, whether that's counts or certain options based on those registration statuses, if you will, on individual device pools. Maybe for the Chicago device pool, we want to trigger a certain threshold or a certain color if it hits a certain threshold. Sorry to be redundant, but maybe Chicago has more than Dallas or vice versa. So maybe those do need to have different options for those thresholdings within the same table view in the background. So certainly those options are here, but you could blanket them all as I am here in this lab right here. So for registered, for the statistic of percentage registered, we're going to apply this to all device pools. And we have a couple different color options as well. We're using orange for an in-betweener. So we definitely have all the conditional operators that we're going to need for these expressions. In this example here, maybe orange somewhat being a warning. If the percent registered is between 85 and 97%, to go orange, okay? Greater than 97, I guess, 98 or better, to go green if all things are in line and there's no unregistered devices. But also maybe not so much mission critical, but maybe more of a kind of an alert, if you will, to go red if it's less than 85%. And just as an example, we are flagging the default device pool here, which does kind of hit that threshold and that expression to turn it red when it's under 85%, which this one is 68%. So again, ease of use to go ahead and see that. Back to the thresholds, if I wanted to maybe call out another one as well, certainly you can have multiple thresholds, as this widget most certainly does, multiple color codes, and it can certainly, once again, be pointing at individual device pools instead of just blanketing them all. But this example, I will blanket them all. The rejections or total rejecteds, same deal here, applying to all the device pools, but just kind of building a red option here for greater than 4. Now, I do know that I have one that, or one of those, I think it was the HQ device pool, had one that was rejected. So I'm actually going to change this. I'm going to say, let's see, greater than or equal to 1 to go ahead and illuminate a color for the total rejecteds. Also have other ones for total failed, total failover. So once again, you can definitely key off of additional thresholds that are part of the configured detail column outputs. So again, these will be all the options that I certainly have. Don't necessarily need thresholds for every one of them, but certainly to each their own. You can certainly go ahead and build whichever expression thresholds you deem necessary. Now, changing real briefly here, that total rejected to all device pools and make it red if it's greater or equal to 1. Should go ahead and key on 1 I've got somewhere right around here once it loads up. And this, again, just kind of validates, oh, now's a bad time for that. And then validates exactly that we can threshold on this pretty easily. Oh, of course, this was working like a champ a few minutes before this session, so hopefully this comes back to us very shortly. But again, many options to go ahead and play around with the thresholding on these dashboard widgets, especially with this registration widget and having that export option to be able to go ahead and, again, export that data out, hand it over to the administrators that need to see that content. But definitely a very viable and valuable option that we have in our widget stack for the dashboards these days. All right. So the lab seems to be playing a little tricks on me here. Bad timing as always. But Taylor, I think I'm going to go ahead and shift the session over to you, sir.
First, briefly wanted to touch on our Teams admin center and the way it's currently configured. It's just going to help paint the picture as I kind of go through the provisioning process. So as you can see here, you have Laura and Jim. They're both assigned to DIDs. Laura's on 2295 and Jim is on 2298. And then you have myself on the bottom here that is assigned to this 6401 number. So just keep this in mind because as I go through, and I'll circle back to this to show the changes, but just want to keep those three DIDs in mind. So I'm going to hop into my lab here. So first, just want to start out by saying that I have a few different blocks that are pre-configured. So I have our product block and our systems engineer block. And once I select that view results here, you're going to basically see the available DIDs that are not currently active within the Teams tenant. So these are just straight out available DIDs. And again, you can see the different blocks being reflected by the DID block name here. So now when I flip over to active, we're going to basically see the reflection of what we're seeing within our Teams admin center. So as I pointed out that Laura, Jim, and Taylor all have DIDs. That is currently what we're seeing now within our within Variphy. So for today's demo, what I'm going to do is, and just to show off our provisioning tooling, what I'm going to do is unassign Jim and Taylor from their current DIDs, and then I'm going to assign Taylor to Jim's DID just to kind of switch it up here. So in order to start our provisioning actions here, we basically added this phone icon, which is going to populate a new screen for us. So once I select Jim and select this phone icon here, you'll get this brand new pop-up. And there's a few different fields to take note of, right? So you have the current Teams user that's assigned to that DID that you selected. Number usages and number type are more or less just informational fields. And then you also have the emergency location present as well too. So now if I wanted to unassign Jim from this 2298 number, all I'll do is select this drop down here and select none. And I'll touch on this more later, but you can also take notes and revisit them at a different time. So for this, I'm just going to say, unassign Jim, let's say 2298 to none, something simple. And I'm going to select save. And I'm also going to do the exact same thing for Taylor here. So I'm going to select Taylor's number, select that phone icon, select none. And same thing too. I could just say unassign Taylor 6401 to none. And press save. Now, once I refresh the results on this page here on the active tab, you're going to see that Taylor and Jim are no longer present. And now if I switch over to inactive unassigned, these are currently the active DIDs within my Teams tenant that are no longer assigned to a user. So as I said before, I'm going to provision this 2298 number that was assigned to Jim now to Taylor. So same actions, you'd be selecting this phone icon here. It's pretty simple. Again, just look through the drop down. So again, for today's demo, I'm going to assign it to Taylor, but if you wanted to assign it to any other user within your tenant, they'll basically be synced in this drop down here. So I'm going to select Taylor here, and same thing. I could say assigning Taylor to DID 2298. And also too, so right now within the emergency location, this is the old one that was assigned to Jim. If I wanted to assign this DID or Taylor to a different emergency location, it's kind of the same steps for that we did for the user, right? So you would select this drop down and you'd be able to select one of the configured emergency locations to associate with that DID. Now, at any point, if you say, hey, you know, maybe these aren't the right emergency locations, or I want to configure a brand new one within my Teams tenant, you can actually select this add a new emergency location, and then it will bring you the fields to populate a brand new emergency location. So as of right now, I'm going to select save. And now you can see that the 2298 number is no longer in the inactive unassigned section or filtering. Now I'm going to switch right back to active once again here. And we're going to see that Taylor is now assigned to Jim's 2298 number, as well as obviously reflecting the emergency address as well too, and any other pertinent information. Now, lastly, I just wanted to touch on our new audit and logging type of functionality. So as of right now, I did quite a bit, right? So from a provisioning perspective, I unassigned Jim from a DID, I unassigned Taylor from a DID, I reassigned Taylor that 2298 number. And there's a lot going on there. It's really tough to sort of keep track, right? So what we did is we actually implemented a brand new history section within our DID management. And this is actually going to show you know, basically the provisioning actions that were done, you know, that were done just point blank. So if I want to see anything that was done for myself, so again, I'm logged in, I can select, hey, you know, I want to see the assigning or unassigning or even reassigning actions. As soon as you select view history here, it's going to start logging all that information for you. So as you can see right here, let's get the right timing. We have right here in the timing. So Taylor unassigned from Jim to none. And here is the last one where I unassigned the previous user, Taylor, to none as well too. And then I reassigned that none to Taylor as well. And then earlier in the demo, when I was placing in those notes, that is where this is being captured here. So again, if you're, you know, if you have a new employee or if you want to write a specific note distinguishing what you did during your provisioning actions, that's pretty much what that note section is used for. And lastly, what I'll say is that if you want to export this to a CSV or a PDF, you would just simply select the export results button here, and then it would give you that option and that ability. And Matt, that is all I had. So let me pause there and we can stop for questions here.